The air was sticky with summer heat even though the sun had been down for hours, and the only real movement came from the slow rocking of my chair and the occasional flick of my thumb across my phone screen. It was close to 2 in the morning, and I was half listening to the sounds of the night, the occasional rustle in the trees, a hoot from some far-off owl, the low croaking of frogs near the creek that ran behind the property. Life had been quiet lately. Almost too quiet. Lauren had been gone for 3 days, supposedly in Chicago for a friend's bachelorette party. I say supposedly not because I doubted the plan, at least not at first, but because something about the trip had rubbed me wrong since the moment she brought it up. Lauren traveled often. Her job with a corporate consulting firm had her flying out to all kinds of conferences and events, and she was good at what she did. She was confident, poised, one of those people who could walk into a room full of strangers and make half of them laugh within 5 minutes. I'd always admired that about her. But over the years, something changed. Her trips started getting longer, her excuses vaguer. I chalked it up to career pressure. Maybe burnout. Maybe we'd both just gotten too comfortable. Still, when she mentioned the Chicago trip, I didn't think much of it. Her college friend Melissa was getting married, a girl I had met maybe twice in all the years Lauren and I had been together, and the whole thing was supposed to be a low-key ladies' weekend. Spa day, wine tastings, silly games, whatever they do with those things. I didn't ask for much detail. I just smiled, helped her pack, and said I'd miss her. And that was the truth, I did. But what stuck with me was the way she texted me while she was away. Too often. Too perfectly. She used to send quick little updates, long day, crashing early, or miss you, can't wait to be home. But this time her messages were long. Sweet? Too sweet. It wasn't her tone. It was something you'd write when you're feeling guilty about something. Or when you're trying to throw someone off a trail. She sent me pictures, her smiling in a hotel lobby, a group *T with 3 girls I didn't recognize, cocktails on a rooftop bar. But when I looked closer, I noticed the little things. Her friend Melissa, the bride-to-be, wasn't in any of the photos. No tags, no mentions. Just vague captions like, girls' night, or such a fun day. It was curated. Carefully constructed. Still, I kept quiet. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe this was just what anxiety felt like after years of marriage where everything started to feel routine. I tried to shake it off, convince myself I was just spiraling over nothing. But deep down, I already knew something had shifted. I just didn't want to admit it. And then I heard the car. A set of headlights pierced the darkness and swept slowly across the porch. A sleek rental SUV rolled up the gravel driveway and came to a quiet stop near the garage. The engine idled for a second before it cut off. A door opened, then shut a little too hard, echoing across the yard like a slap. I didn't move. I just sat there, thumb still resting on my phone, pretending to scroll, pretending this was still a normal night. Lauren emerged from the driver's side, dragging her suitcase behind her and clutching her phone like it was glued to her hand. She was laughing. That was the first thing that made my stomach turn. Not smiling. Laughing. Not the polite kind of chuckle you make when you're talking to your Uber driver or when you're rehashing a memory with a friend. No, this was deeper. Real laughter. The kind that comes when you're still riding the high of a really, really good time. Her voice cut through the silence like a flash of lightning in a storm, sharp, bright, and completely out of place at that hour. Especially after 3 days away. She hadn't seen me yet. She walked toward the house, eyes glued to her screen, thumb tapping out something fast. Her suitcase bumped against the front step as she opened the door, then turned around to say something. I couldn't hear what, but I saw her mouth move. Then she disappeared inside. I sat there another minute or two, letting the moment sink in. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I wanted to believe that maybe she just had a great time, that she'd reconnected with old friends, drank a little too much wine, danced, laughed, let loose. God knows she deserved it. She worked hard. She always had. Maybe I was just being the jealous husband, sitting alone on the porch and reading too much into every little thing. But there was a tightness in my chest I couldn't shake. A pit in my stomach that had been forming for weeks, slowly, like the build-up before a storm. When I finally stood up and walked back inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I could hear her upstairs, the creak of floorboards as she moved around our bedroom, the faint hum of her voice, still talking to someone. Her suitcase thudded against the hardwood floor. I waited in the hallway for a few seconds, listening. She didn't know I was there. Her voice, once bright and laughing, was now muffled, low. But one sentence stood out. A whisper, almost. Yeah, he doesn't suspect a thing. And then a man's voice, faint but unmistakable, came through her phone speaker. Baby, I already miss you. I froze. Everything in me wanted to burst into the room and demand an explanation. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I turned away and walked downstairs, each step heavier than the last. My hands were shaking as I poured myself a glass of water, heart pounding so loudly I thought it might wake the neighbors. I sat back down at the kitchen table, staring at the front door, at the suitcase she had wheeled in like it was carrying nothing but clothes and souvenirs. But I knew better now. The stories she told me about the party, about Melissa, about Chicago, none of it was real. Or maybe pieces of it were. But not enough to matter. Because in that moment, with just a handful of words, she had confirmed what my gut had been screaming for days. She was lying to me. Something about that realization made everything sharper. Colder. I noticed how she left her phone face down on the counter when she walked by. How she jumped slightly when she saw me in the hallway, not expecting me to be awake. How she laughed again, forced this time, and mumbled something about being exhausted before disappearing into the shower. I didn't follow her. I didn't say a word. Instead, I stood there in the kitchen, glass still in my hand, and stared at the staircase. Something had changed. Something big. And I wasn't sure I'd ever see her or us the same way again. She came downstairs about 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, hair still damp from the shower. Her face looked clean, refreshed, like nothing had happened, like nothing was different. She smiled when she saw me in the kitchen and said something about the water pressure in the hotel being terrible, how she missed our little clawfoot tub and how it was good to be home. I nodded, said, "Glad you're back," and tried to act normal. But I wasn't normal. I was anything but. I watched the way she moved. Carefully. Almost rehearsed. Like she was trying too hard to be relaxed. And then there was her phone, never left her hand. She held it tightly like it was part of her now. When it buzzed, she'd turn slightly away, check the screen with a half-second glance, then put it face down again. Always face down. Long drive? I asked casually, sipping my coffee. Ugh, yeah, she said, rolling her eyes. Flight was delayed, so I just rented a car instead. Figured it'd be easier than dealing with layovers. From Chicago? She hesitated for a beat, barely noticeable, but I caught it. Yeah, she said. O'Hare was a mess. Apparently there was a storm up north. Melissa ended up flying out early this morning, so I figured I'd just hit the road instead of waiting around. I nodded again. Makes sense. She walked over and kissed me on the cheek, then grabbed a banana from the counter. I'm gonna go unpack. I feel gross. I watched her go upstairs, the way her fingers danced across her phone as she climbed. Her shoulders were tense. Not like someone who just spent a carefree weekend with friends. No, she looked like someone hiding something. Someone waiting for the moment when it all comes crashing down. That was the moment I knew I couldn't ignore this anymore. I tried to focus on work that morning. I opened my laptop, logged in, answered a few emails, but my mind wasn't on spreadsheets or deadlines. It was upstairs, behind a closed door, where my wife was unpacking clothes from a trip that never happened, or at least didn't happen the way she said it did. Around 11, I heard her on the phone again. This time, her voice was lower. More cautious. I crept up the stairs quietly, stopping just before the door to her bedroom. It was cracked open slightly. I leaned in, heart pounding. No, he doesn't know, she was saying. I told you he's not that type. He trusts me. Silence. Then laughter. That same bright, giddy laugh she had when she stepped out of the car the night before. The one that had twisted my stomach. Of course I miss you, she said. I already told you that. I backed away before I heard more. I didn't want to keep listening, not yet. I felt sick. Like I'd swallowed a rock and it was sitting there in my gut, growing heavier by the second. I went outside and sat on the porch again, trying to calm myself down. Trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. I could confront her. Demand to know the truth. Call her out, scream, throw her lies in her face. But what good would that do? She'd deny it. Cry. Say I misunderstood. That it was harmless. That I was being paranoid. I'd heard enough stories to know how that goes. And honestly, I wasn't interested in some dramatic shouting match. I wanted facts. Proof. Something she couldn't deny. That night, she acted like everything was fine. She made us both pasta, her favorite, the creamy kind with garlic and parmesan and way too much butter. She poured 2 glasses of wine, put on some jazz music in the background. The whole performance. She even danced a little in the kitchen, trying to get me to smile. I played along. Laughed where I was supposed to. Said cheers when she raised her glass. But I noticed everything. I noticed how her phone buzzed twice during dinner and how she didn't touch it until she was in the hallway. I noticed the tiny smirk on her face when she thought I wasn't looking. I noticed how she mentioned the trip like it had been uneventful, boring even. She said they watched Netflix in the hotel room. Just a chill weekend with the girls, she said. Nothing exciting. Except that wasn't how she looked when she got home. That wasn't how she sounded on the phone. That wasn't how her eyes lit up when she said someone missed her. After dinner, she went upstairs to fold laundry and catch up on sleep. I stayed downstairs, phone in hand, trying to figure out what to do. My head was spinning. My heart was pounding. And that's when I remembered something stupid and small, but it suddenly felt like the most important thing in the world. The tablet. We had a shared tablet we used mostly for Netflix or browsing when we were traveling. I hadn't touched it in weeks. But Lauren used it often, sometimes for emails, sometimes to sync her phone. I knew it automatically logged into our shared cloud account. I grabbed it from the drawer in the living room and turned it on. At first, nothing unusual. Just the usual apps, emails, a couple of Pinterest boards about bathroom renovations. But then I noticed a messaging app one didn't recognize, something she must have downloaded recently. I opened it. And there he was. Jason Carter. There were dozens of messages. Some were short, can't stop thinking about you. Others were longer. Flirtatious. An asterisk mate. Graphic in a way that made my stomach twist. I still dream about that night in Savannah. You in my shirt was the hottest thing I've ever seen. When can I see you again? And then Lauren's replies. You made me feel alive again. It was better than I imagined. Next time, no interruptions. Just us. I couldn't breathe. I actually couldn't. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the tablet. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our marriage, was unraveling in front of me, message by message, word by word. And then, like a final blow to the gut, I saw a calendar entry synced to her account. Denver, June 21st to 23rd. Just next weekend. Another trip. Another lie. I sat there for a long time. Just frozen. I wanted to scream, to smash the tablet, to tear through the house and confront her right then and there. But I didn't. Something in me said, wait. Think. Don't let her know you know, not yet. Because this wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a full-blown affair. Planned. Repeated. Ongoing. When I finally went upstairs, she was already asleep. Or pretending to be. I lay down beside her, my back to her side of the bed, heart racing. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the wall. Waiting. Plotting. Because now I knew. And she had no idea. And that, more than anything, gave me time. Time to plan my next move. The next morning, I didn't say a word about what I'd found. I woke up before she did and made coffee, fed the dog, opened the blinds, same as always. When she wandered downstairs, still in her robe, she looked surprised to see me dressed, calm, humming some old tune under my breath like the night hadn't shredded the fabric of my world. She smiled. You're up early. Just couldn't sleep, I said, sliding a cup of coffee across the counter to her. Had a lot on my mind. She didn't ask what. Maybe she didn't want to know. Or maybe she thought she already did. That's the thing about liars, they think they're smarter than the people they're lying to. They convince themselves they're good at hiding things. But they forget how well we know them, their habits, their tone, the weight of their silences. She sat across from me, scrolling her phone like always. I watched her thumb move, her eyes flit over messages. She wasn't as careful anymore. Not like the first few days. Maybe she thought I'd stopped paying attention. Maybe she thought her performance, the dinner, the wine, the smile, had worked. But I saw everything now. Every nervous glance, every twitch of her fingers, every sigh when her screen lit up with a name she didn't want me to see. That afternoon, she went to the gym, her new thing. 3 times a week, she'd go for Pilates or Zumba, or something else I couldn't keep straight. I waited 5 minutes after the garage door closed, then walked upstairs to the bedroom. I opened her gym bag. Right on top was a fresh towel, a change of clothes, her water bottle. Normal. But underneath that, tucked between her leggings and her makeup pouch, was a small black box. Velvet. Jewelry. I opened it slowly. Inside was a necklace. Delicate. Silver. A tiny heart pendant hung from the chain, engraved with 2 initials I didn't recognize. Not mine. Not hers. Underneath the box was a folded note. I hesitated before opening it. My hands shook. For the nights when you're mine and only mine. Jay. My breath caught in my throat. Jason. It wasn't just a fling. Not just flirting or a mistake. This was real. Int asterisk mate. Emotional. The kind of thing you don't come back from. I sat on the edge of the bed. The note in one hand, the box in the other. My heart was pounding, but I felt numb. Like the shock had burned through me and now all that was left was cold resolve. I put everything back exactly how I found it. Then I opened the shared tablet again and dug deeper. Photos. Lauren had forgotten that her cloud sync was still connected. Or maybe she never noticed that some apps automatically uploaded to shared drives. Either way, I found an album tucked away under a random name, JC Trip, password protected, but I knew her birthday and our anniversary. The combo worked on the second try. The pictures hit like punches to the gut. Lauren and Jason in a hotel room, wine glasses on the table, her head on his shoulder. Lauren on a bed, taking a selfie in lingerie I'd never seen before. Lauren and Jason at a bar, arms around each other, eyes locked like they were the only two people in the world. There were timestamps, too. Dates that matched the conference weekends she'd told me about. March, April, last weekend. And next weekend, the trip to Denver was already planned. Booked under a different email. Confirmation from a boutique hotel in her inbox. 2 nights. 1 king bed. I don't remember how long I sat there. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. All I know is that when I finally stood up, I wasn't the same man I had been the night before. Everything I believed in, the trust, the loyalty, the partnership, it was gone. Replaced with this hollow ache. This buzzing static in my brain that wouldn't shut off. But I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't destroy anything. Instead, I called a number I hadn't used in years. A friend of a friend. Max, private investigator. Former cop. The kind of guy who knew how to find answers without leaving a trail. He picked up on the 3rd ring. Max, it's Tyler Reynolds. I said. You did some work for a friend of mine a few years ago. Yeah, I remember. He said, voice calm. What's going on? I need proof. I said. Concrete. Undeniable. Talk to me, he said. And I did. I told him everything, the phone calls, the messages, the tablet, the hotel bookings. I sent *TS, forwarded emails, even dropped off a flash drive with everything I had collected. 2 days later, Max called me back. We need to meet. We chose a parking lot near an old drive-in movie theater, the kind that was mostly empty during the week. He was already waiting when I pulled up. Sitting in his car, flipping through a folder thick with printouts. I got in. He didn't say anything right away, just handed me the folder. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Lauren and Jason at a restaurant. Lauren and Jason walking down a hallway. Lauren with her arms wrapped around him, laughing like a teenager in love. The last photo was them entering a hotel room together. Timestamped, tracked, documented. They didn't leave until morning, Max said quietly. We've got footage. Surveillance. I put it all on this flash drive. He handed it to me. I didn't say anything for a minute. Just stared at the last photo. You okay? Max asked. I shook my head. No, but I will be. He nodded. You got what you need. Now it's up to you. I thanked him. Drove home in silence. That night, Lauren was her usual self. Chatty. Sweet. Asked if I wanted to watch a movie. Suggested takeout. I nodded. Played along. But I wasn't really there anymore. I was already somewhere else. In a world where I no longer believed a word that came out of her mouth. Where every smile felt like a wee *P***n. Every laugh a cover for betrayal. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed the perfect moment. The perfect line. The one that would break everything open. Quietly, completely, and leave no room for lies. Because now I had the truth. And it was only a matter of time before she saw it, too. I didn't rush. The worst thing I could do at that point was act too fast. Let my emotions run the show. Lauren was still playing her part, still waking up with a kiss on the cheek and falling asleep with her phone hidden under the pillow. She didn't know I had it all. The photos. The footage. The notes and texts. The Denver booking. Every detail. But I kept smiling. That week, she was in full performance mode. Talking more, laughing louder, making breakfast, eggs, and toast with a side of cheerful guilt. I played along, nodding at her stories, pretending I was listening while secretly noting how often she reached for her phone. She never left it unattended. Never forgot it on the couch like she used to. She was covering her tracks. On Wednesday, she brought up her next work event. Said her team wanted her to fly to Denver for a weekend team retreat. Said it was boring, corporate stuff. Icebreakers and team building. She rolled her eyes and made it sound like the last thing she wanted to do. I stared at her as she talked and she didn't flinch. Denver. I repeated. Didn't you just get back from Chicago? I know, she said, laughing. It's been nonstop. But this one's mandatory. You know how it is. I did know. It wasn't. That night, after she went to bed, I pulled out a folder and started compiling everything. I had made copies of the photos, **TS of the messages, her hotel confirmation, even the gift receipt tucked in her gym bag, a transaction from a boutique jewelry store dated 2 days before she left for Chicago. I organized it like a lawyer would. Labels, dates, timelines. I wasn't going to give her a chance to lie. Not even for a second. I wanted every excuse shut down before it left her mouth. But first, I had to meet with Max one more time. We met again on a Friday, same place, the old movie theater lot. This time, he brought a laptop and a grim look on his face. She's reckless, he said without preamble. Sloppy, actually. They're not even trying to hide anymore. He opened a file on the laptop, video footage from a hotel lobby in Charleston. It was timestamped a month earlier. Lauren was checking in with Jason by her side. She touched his arm, leaned in, laughed. Her hand brushed across his chest as he took the room key from the front desk. Max let it play out frame by frame. Them walking toward the elevator. Her leaning into him as the doors closed. They stayed 2 nights. Same room. Same hotel chain she used in Savannah. He clicked again, a different clip. Surveillance from a rooftop bar. Lauren and Jason at a table sharing a dessert. Her hand was on his thigh. His mouth near her ear. They were whispering, then laughing, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She didn't even try to disguise herself, Max added. Same purse, same coat you posted on your anniversary last year. I nodded, jaw tight. This is what you wanted, he said, pausing the video. This is open and shut. Divorce-wise, it doesn't get clearer. He slid over a flash drive. I even pulled phone records, he added. They've been texting daily for 6 months. Started with once or twice a week. By February, it jumped to 20-30 messages a day. My stomach turned. 6 months. That meant the affair started before the holidays. Before our Christmas trip to Asheville. Before I bought her that bracelet she cried over in front of the fireplace. Before she told me she wanted to try for kids next year. Max stood and handed me a second envelope. This has call logs, GPS pings, bank statements, you name it. If you want to go legal, you're stacked. I don't want to go legal yet, I said. Not until I talk to her. He raised an eyebrow. You sure? She's already booking trips. She's making plans like nothing's wrong. I'm sure, I said. But when I confront her, I want it all on the table. We shook hands and I left. Back home, Lauren was curled up on the couch in her pajamas, watching a cooking show with a glass of wine. Hey babe, she said, eyes on the screen. Want to watch with me? I smiled. I'm just gonna finish something upstairs. She didn't ask what. Over the weekend, I copied the files to a secure drive, added printed stills to the folder, and rehearsed what I was going to say. I wanted her to walk straight into it. I wanted her to feel what it was like to have your reality pulled out from under you. On Monday morning, while she was in the shower, I took her phone from the nightstand and opened it. She used Face ID. She had grown complacent. Jason was texting again. Counting the days, babe. Denver's going to be magic. She had replied, I still feel guilty sometimes, but not when I'm with you. Guilty? Sometimes. Not when I'm with you. She didn't even think I was worth a lock screen code. I put the phone back and walked downstairs, heart ice cold. It was time. Time to move from suspicion to confrontation. Time to take back the truth. And end the lie we've been living. It was the 3rd evening after I met with Max when I decided it was time. I didn't plan a dramatic showdown. No yelling. No throwing things. Just the truth served with the cold, quiet finality of someone who had seen too much to care about the performance anymore. Lauren was in the living room, curled into the corner of the couch with a blanket over her legs and her laptop open. She was pretending to work, tapping at keys, occasionally sighing like the stress of her job was the heaviest burden in the world. I sat in the armchair across from her, folder resting quietly on my lap. She looked up. Hey, you okay? You've been quiet. I gave a soft laugh. Yeah. Just thinking. About what? Remember those true crime shows we used to watch? I asked. She smiled warily. The Netflix ones? Of course. You were obsessed with them. I nodded. Especially the ones where everything falls apart from one tiny mistake. A single missed detail. Her smile faltered. Yeah. She looked back at her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she wasn't typing anymore. You know what always struck me? I continued. How people think they're smarter than everyone else. Like they can live a double life and never get caught. Now her hands were still. Her eyes flicked up to meet mine, just for a second. There it was. That first flicker of panic. Not full-blown yet, but the kind that builds fast. Tyler, she said slowly. What are you getting at? I stood up without answering and walked into the kitchen. A moment later, I returned with the folder, thick, heavy, bursting with receipts, photos, screen captures, and a neatly labeled flash drive tucked into the sleeve. I set it on the coffee table. Anything you want to tell me? She stared at the folder like it was radioactive. What is that? Evidence, I said flatly. Proof. 6 months worth. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed again. Her breath hitched. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Tyler, her voice cracked. I don't know what you think you found. Jason Carter, I interrupted. The jewelry. The photos. The trips. Savannah. Charleston. Chicago. And next weekend? Denver. Rooms already booked. King bed. Boutique hotel. Confirmation numbers in the folder if you want to double-check. She didn't reach for the folder. Her hands were shaking now, gripped the blanket like she was trying to disappear into it. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. It started as nothing. I swear. I sat back down, steepling my fingers. Didn't mean for what to happen? The first hotel? The first kiss? The first lie? Be specific. Her face collapsed in on itself. She buried it in her hands and sobbed. Tyler, please. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't plan this, he understood me. We connected. And I know that's not an excuse. I know. I didn't move. I just let her unravel. I thought I could stop. I told him it had to end. I blocked him once. But then he emailed. And I missed it. I missed the way he made me feel. And everything here felt so stale. You were always working. You stopped looking at me like you used to. So you replaced me, I said coldly. With someone who had nothing to lose. She looked up, eyes red. I didn't replace you. I never stopped loving you. I pulled the flash drive from the folder and held it up. This drive contains 3 separate hotel check-ins. Photos. Timestamps. You holding his hand. You kissing him in the hallway. You checking in together and leaving 12 hours later wearing the same clothes. She shrank against the couch. I want a divorce, I said. No, she breathed. Please. No. We can fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll end it. You don't understand, I still want us. I still love you. You love me, I repeated. Yes, she cried. I made a mistake. A huge one. But it doesn't mean what we had is over. It is over, I said. You just didn't realize it yet. I picked up the folder and walked to the kitchen table. Set it down neatly, placed a pen beside it. I opened the laptop and played the hotel footage, muted but clear. Jason and Lauren, arm in arm, laughing, entering room 412. She stood frozen in the living room. When the video ended, she walked slowly over, eyes wide with terror and shame. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she said. But it did, I said. Over and over. It wasn't one slip. You booked flights. You exchanged gifts. You let him call you baby while I was sitting here in the house you decorated. She sat down, trembling. What do we do now? I looked at her. I already contacted a lawyer. Joanna Miller. She's got the file. All of it. This is just a courtesy, telling you before the papers arrive. Her mouth dropped open. You've already started? 3 days ago, I said. She covered her mouth with both hands. Her body rocked back and forth like she was physically trying to shake off the truth. I can't believe this is happening, she whispered. You should have thought about that 6 months ago. I stood. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. She crumpled on the floor, sobbing, saying my name like it was the only word she remembered. But I was done. She made her choice. Now it was my turn to choose. And I was choosing freedom. After the confrontation, I packed a bag and checked into a cheap motel off Highway 21. I didn't tell Lauren where I was going, she didn't deserve to know. I needed space, silence, somewhere without the scent of her perfume in the hallway or our wedding photo staring at me from the mantel. Joanna Miller, the lawyer I contacted, didn't waste time. When I told her everything and handed over the folder Max had helped me build, she gave me a grim nod. With this kind of documentation, she said, you'll come out clean. No dragging this through months of court. It moved faster than I expected. A week after filing, the papers were served. Lauren called me in tears. Left voicemails. Texts. She tried everything. But I didn't answer. Not once. Then Max called with one final twist. Jason's married, he said. And his wife just found out. Apparently, Lauren wasn't just wrecking one life, she tangled herself in a full web of deceit. Jason's wife, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Tara, had discovered the texts, the trips, even the hotel receipts. And she was livid. Word was, she called Lauren's office and threatened to go public. Lauren begged me to intervene. She left letters on my motel door, pages torn from journals, claiming she was broken, desperate, still in love. I read every one of them, then dropped them into the motel's trash bin. I felt nothing but exhaustion. By the end of the second week, the property split was finalized. I kept the house. She kept her car, her accounts, and whatever dignity she could still find. There was no ceremony, no parting hug. Just a courier who handed her the final decree in a manila envelope. Lauren faded after that. I saw her once, passing by in town. She looked smaller somehow. Duller. As if everything she had built her secret world upon had finally crumbled, and now all that was left was dust. Months passed. The house felt empty at first, but then peaceful. I started running again. Cleaned out the garage. Even picked up an old dream of mine, writing a book, something raw, honest, fictional, but rooted in the weight of everything I'd lived through. One day, while passing through Austin on a short getaway, I stopped by a cafe. It was raining and I was tired. Inside, a woman dropped her coffee, nearly soaking her laptop. I jumped in to help. Thanks, she said, laughing nervously. First time trying to carry three things and think at the same time. We started talking. Her name was Emma. She was calm. Grounded. Real. We sat for over an hour, just two strangers trading thoughts over lukewarm coffee. We exchanged numbers. And when I stepped out of the cafe that day, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, freedom. Not the reckless kind, the quiet kind. The kind that comes after the storm has passed, when the world feels still and new. I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. Lauren had betrayed me. But she hadn't destroyed me. I had survived. And now, I was ready to begin again.